just had an extensive interview with comics legend Stan Lee. Tell us.
The only one, by the way. Kirby's gone. Who else is there? Gil Kane's gone. He's it.
Tell us what you really think of him.
You know, he's the Shakespeare of modern times. Isn't that far off? And I'll tell you why. Because no matter what level of quality you assign Shakespeare, it still impacted society to the point where to be or not to be, or beware the Ides of March, movies are, it's part of the language. His creations, fictional characters and phrases and so on, and the storylines became part of the culture and the language. Well, Dashiell Hammett, Hemingway, they can't hold a candle to Stan Lee. His characters, his phrases, his comic books have impacted and changed the world. And then the people who were influenced by that went on to get their own millions of fans. Spielberg, myself, I'm not in that league, but go right down the line. The next generation of people who grew up on Stan's comic books were directly impacted by that sort of sense of self-empowerment that even the gods, the Greek mythology, and even Marvel superheroes have human weaknesses, you know? And some of them are even pimply-faced teenagers like Peter Parker, like all of us are. So I didn't answer your question, but I like my answer much better than your question.
I think I know the answer to this one, but Marvel or DC?
It's clearly Marvel, but a lot of the Marvel guys went over, including Jack Kirby, to DC and made it a better place. DC, you have to give kudos to because they started the entire pattern. When two Jews from Cleveland decided to take the Moses story of the Old Testament of a child being put in an ark and being sent down the river when the Egyptians took him and raised him, is the same story as Kal-El. By the way, El-Al, Kal-El, they're all Hebrew names, where the planet's being destroyed and he's being sent down in a space ark. By the way, he's reclining just like the Moses figure. And why would you go through space on your back if you're a baby for who knows how many trillions of miles? And of course, Clark Kent is adopted by Gentiles, the little Jewish kid from another. So intrinsically, it's the Moses idea. And all the comic book companies and almost all the characters were created by Jews, ironically enough. Jack Kirby, you don't want to pronounce his last name. Stan Lee was Stanley Lieber. Bob Kane, Batman was Bob Cohen. Bill Fine, who created the Human Torch and so on. These are disenfranchised people who were never part of mainstream America because of anti-Semitism, and so aspired to greatness in literature, in comic books. So they created their version of Der Übermensch, the German version of it, and it goes back to that as well, by the way.
What are your thoughts about the current comic book movie adaptations?
The Marvel world has been much more successful, and if it wasn't for Avi Arad and his team, by the way, I had the rights to do Ghost Rider. Grey Ghost was the bad guy in the Fantastic Four comics with the apes on the moon. You don't know what I'm talking about, I know.
Sure.
You do?
Of course.
Very.
Look at his T-shirt.
Look at that. Wrong company. But in either case, tell me the question again, I'll answer it.
The current comic book movie adaptations, what are your thoughts? And do they have legs?
Marvel has done a better job at it. And then Batman. You know, there were Batman and Superman movies during the 40s, the Republic serials, Kirk Alien as Superman, and then there were two, Superman meets Atom Man, and then there was a 1956 version with George Reeves, Superman meets the Mole Men. I'll keep you here all day. And there was Batman serial, but they were kid stuff. It wasn't really until Marvel and Stan Lee and Steve Ditko and the other guys who started to think of these characters as Greek mythological and Norse mythology heroes, gods who could fly through the air, change the heavens, and so on and so forth, who had human weaknesses, human foibles. They were apt to get angry, vain, jealous, and so that's what made us connect. I mean, I can't relate to God. I mean, how do you do that? I think the thing that makes Jesus appealing to so many people is he was tempted, he was this, he was that, so a lot of people get that. I can't relate to what Jews call God, like the Father. But in Greek mythology, the Greeks could relate to their gods because they were angry, they fought with each other, they were like people.